I'm 38, male, and I guess I should explain how a guy ends up being a licensed attorney while his wife thinks he's just some boring freelance IT consultant. Spoiler alert, it wasn't some master genius plan where I was lying in wait for years to pull off the ultimate gotcha. It was really just a series of decisions, half survival and half stupidity, that in hindsight probably saved me from total financial ruin. But looking back now, watching how it all played out, it almost feels like fate gave me the one tool I needed to turn the tables on a woman who thought she was going to eat me alive. I met Victoria when I was 26. She was stunning, ambitious, already working at a high-end marketing firm where the office parties had champagne towers and everyone was in Armani. I was this scrappy guy finishing law school at night, paying my way by doing IT consulting gigs during the day. Fixing servers, cleaning up malware, setting up networks for small businesses, whatever kept the lights on. I thought once I graduated, passed the bar, and got into a firm, life would finally stabilize. But then I met her. And Victoria made her opinions about boring careers very clear right from the start. She couldn't see herself with someone in a stuffy profession like law. Lawyers, in her words, were just bitter old men who argued over paperwork.
Scevantet adventure, flash, somione, cutting edge.
So, stupidly, instead of telling her the truth, I downplayed the law thing. I told her I was focusing on my tech consulting career full-time. Which was technically true, since I was doing IT work. I just conveniently left out that I was also about to sit for the bar exam.
Yeah, I know, dump.
But I was young, she was way out of my league, and I figured if hiding my degree got me a shot with her, so be it. We got married 2 years later. By then, I had passed the bar, kept my license active, but never actually practiced. I didn't want to blow up the fantasy she'd bought into.
That she had landed herself this cool, up-and-coming tech entrepreneur husband. And honestly, the IT work was going well. I had a decent client base, flexible hours, and I could make enough to keep us comfortable. Meanwhile, she was thriving on the image. She loved telling her friends, coworkers, and random people at dinner parties that her husband was a tech guy. She'd actually introduce me like, "This is my husband Josh, he runs his own IT business. He's basically a startup founder." I just smile and nod. Fast forward 10 years, and the cracks were showing. Our marriage wasn't what I'd hoped. Victoria's taste had gone from nice to insane. She had to have designer everything. Bags, shoes, cars. Vacations weren't, let's go camping for a week. They were luxury resorts in the Maldives. Our house wasn't just a house. It was a statement piece for her image. Never mind that we couldn't really afford it. I worked 60 to 70-hour weeks to keep her lifestyle afloat. She worked maybe 20 hours at her marketing job, then spent the rest of her time at the gym, the salon, or with her circle of equally shallow friends. The breaking point came about 6 months ago. I found out she was having an affair. And not just any affair, with Derek, her CrossFit trainer. Because, of course, it was the CrossFit trainer. But here's the kicker. She was paying him $3,000 a month for private sessions. And not from her account, not from some side fund. From mine. From my business account that she had access to just in case of emergencies. Well, apparently her emergencies were very sweaty and very naked. When I confronted her, she laughed. Not apologized. Not begged forgiveness. Laughed. She called me boring and predictable. Said Derek was a real man who knew how to live. Then she said the words that sealed her fate. "I want a divorce, and I'm taking you for everything. You can barely dress yourself properly. You think you can handle a divorce without me destroying you?" I just looked at her and said, "Okay." The next morning I filed. Here's where things start getting fun. Victoria went nuclear. She hired Reginald Ashworth of Ashworth and Associates. If you don't recognize the name, he's one of those billboard lawyers. The kind who has a smarmy grin and a slogan like, "We fight dirty, so you don't have to." She couldn't resist calling me the day after hiring him, just to gloat. "Reggie says you're an idiot for not getting a lawyer. He's going to make sure you're living in your car by the time this is over. Maybe Derek and I will buy your house at foreclosure." I just said, "Noted." What she didn't know was that I'd spent the 2 weeks before filing getting everything in order. See, keeping a law license active for a decade requires continuing education. So while Victoria was out buying $4,000 handbags, I was spending weekends at boring family law seminars, keeping up with changes in divorce statutes, support rules, case law precedents. I never thought I'd use that knowledge. I kept the license active mostly out of stubbornness and a weird sense of pride. But now it was about to pay off. First court date. Preliminary hearing for temporary orders. Victoria shows up in head-to-toe designer, Derek in tow, like this was some kind of reality TV event. I show up in my one good suit, which in her eyes probably looked like a clearance rack disaster. Ashworth immediately tried to intimidate me in the hallway. It's not too late to get representation. I know some budget lawyers who might take pity on you. Maybe payment plans. Victoria chimed in, loud enough for everyone to hear. He probably can't even afford the consultation fee. I've been supporting this loser for years. The bailiff called us in. Judge Martinez was presiding. Older woman, no nonsense, the kind of judge who can smell BS from a mile away. Ashworth stood up with all the swagger in the world. Your Honor, my client is seeking temporary spousal support of $8,000 monthly, exclusive use of the marital home, and payment of all her legal fees. Respondent appears pro se, which speaks to his financial situation. Judge Martinez looked at me. Sir, are you representing yourself? I am, Your Honor. Victoria actually snorted. Ashworth smirked like he'd just scored a touchdown. Very well, the judge said. Do you have any objection to petitioner's requests? I do, Your Honor. May I approach? Ashworth rolled his eyes. Your Honor, perhaps we should advise Mr. Thompson of proper court procedures. I'm familiar with the procedures, I said, pulling out my neatly tabbed binders. I'd like to submit exhibits through K for the court's consideration. The look on Ashworth's face when I cited evidence rules correctly and handed over perfectly formatted legal documents? Priceless. Victoria's smirk froze. Exhibit, I began, demonstrates that petitioner has been withdrawing $3,000 monthly from my business account for the past 18 months, allegedly for fitness training. Exhibit B through D are credit card statements showing petitioner's personal expenses averaging $12,000 monthly, none of which contributed to household necessities. Exhibit E is a social media post from petitioner dated last week, stating, and I quote, "Can't wait to take him for everything he's worth. Already planning my victory vacation with my real man." Victoria went pale. Ashworth fumbled his papers. Judge Martinez raised an eyebrow. Mr. Ashworth, were you aware your client posted about her intentions publicly? Ashworth stammered. That's taken out of context. The context seems pretty clear, the judge said dryly. I went on. Regarding spousal support, State Code Section 14-10-114 subsection 3 clearly states that marital misconduct, particularly economic fault, can be considered in support determinations. The $54,000 taken from my business account without authorization constitutes economic misconduct. Judge Martinez leaned forward. You seem surprisingly well-versed in family law, Mr. Thompson. I try to be prepared, Your Honor. Victoria was whispering urgently to Ashworth. He stood, flustered. Your Honor, we'd like to request a continuance to review these unexpectedly professional submissions. Denied, said the judge. Mr. Thompson, anything else? Yes, Your Honor. Exhibit K is a retainer agreement between petitioner and Mr. Ashworth for $50,000, paid from an account containing funds transferred from our joint assets 2 days before filing. This appears to be dissipation of marital assets, which under precedent set in Hughes v. Hughes should be credited against petitioner's share of the estate. Ashworth's face turned red. How did you? Discovery is a wonderful thing, I said mildly. The judge actually fought a smile. Based on the evidence, I'm denying all requests for temporary support. Furthermore, petitioner is ordered to return the $54,000 taken from respondent's business account within 30 days. We'll revisit permanent orders at trial. Victoria exploded. He can't know all this. He fixes computers. He probably Googled it. Mrs. Thompson, the judge snapped. Control yourself. As we left, Derek was trying to comfort her, while Ashworth looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. He cornered me outside. Who's really helping you? No paralegal, no matter how good, could prepare those documents. I just smiled. See you at trial, counselor. And that was just round one. The discovery phase was brutal, but not in the way they hoped. Ashworth buried me in document requests, scheduled depositions at ridiculous times, filed motion after motion. I responded to everything within 24 hours, properly formatted, case citations included. He even tried to claim I must be practicing law without a license because I was too competent. He filed a complaint with the state bar. The bar's response? Pro se litigants can be as competent as they want. Complaint dismissed. Then came Victoria's deposition. That was the moment she dug her own grave. She swore under oath she'd only been seeing Derek for 2 months. Her text told a different story. 3 years. 3 years of her calling me a pathetic loser, of Derek asking, "How much do you think we can get?" and shopping for boats with money he thought was coming. My favorite was her writing to him, "I'm only staying until I can figure out how to get the most money out of him." When I confronted her with that text, she tried to dodge. "That's private. Goes to marital misconduct," I replied calmly. Ashworth objected. "You're not allowed to argue." "I'm not objecting, counselor. I'm responding to yours." Even the court reporter smirked. But the real nail in her coffin was her arrogance. She admitted, on the record, that she'd been with Derek for 3 years, that she thought I was boring, that she deserved better than some pathetic tech support guy. She bragged about Derek being a fitness entrepreneur, even though his tax returns showed $11,000 total income last year. She ranted about how I didn't understand success, how she'd maxed out credit cards before filing because he'll have to pay half anyway. All on the record, all admissible. By the time trial came, I had everything lined up. Her texts, her spending, her Instagram posts with metadata, showing trips with Derek during girls' weekends, even a screen-recorded video from her ex-friend Melissa where she drunkenly bragged about staying married just to take me for everything. Trial day came. The courtroom was packed. Word had gotten around about the IT guy representing himself and driving Ashworth insane. Victoria showed up in a $3,000 dress. She'd charged my card before I canceled it. Derek was there in the gallery, wearing sunglasses indoors. Ashworth's opening painted her as a devoted wife neglected by a workaholic husband. Derek was just a supportive friend. My opening? This marriage didn't end because of neglect. It ended because of greed. The petitioner conducted a 3-year affair, stole $54,000, hid assets, and by her own admission, stayed married only to take me for everything. Piece by piece, I laid it all out. The texts, the bank records, the social media posts, the video of her bragging. Melissa testified. Ashworth objected constantly. Overruled, overruled, overruled. And then, the finale. My cross-examination of Victoria. "Mrs. Thompson, you've called me too stupid to handle this divorce properly. Can you elaborate? You're not a lawyer. You fix computers. This whole act is pathetic," she sneered. "Interesting. So you believe legal knowledge is important in situations like this?" "Obviously. That's why I hired a real lawyer while you're playing pretend." "Your Honor," I said, "may I submit Exhibit Z?" Ashworth jumped up. "Objection. Not on the exhibit list. Impeachment evidence, Your Honor. Goes to credibility." "I'll allow it," said the judge. The bailiff handed her the document. "Mrs. Thompson, please read the highlighted portion." She frowned, reading aloud. "Active license to practice law in the state of..." "Wait, what?" "Issued to Joshua Thompson. 10 years ago, in good standing." The courtroom erupted. Ashworth nearly fell over. "Your Honor," he sputtered. He's been practicing without disclosure." "No," I said calmly. "I've never practiced for money. I've simply maintained my license. I chose to run my IT firm instead." 6.